The end of the year is upon us, and there's a lot to think about. So tonight's daily December art candy is brought to you by Your Memories. Color Your Year Recap. All right, I came up with this idea today on my walk, and I was like, oh, we've really got to try this. So here is the idea. I reviewed the year, looked through everything, and my original idea was take one thing that was really great, one thing that was really challenging, and one neutral thing for each month, and then write those down, put them in squares, and then color code the squares, blah, blah, blah. But then when I started going through my Google Calendar from the year, I realized, my goodness, so much has happened this year. And I'm talking about little, big, just a lot of things. And so I thought, okay, fine. I'm going to go ahead and just write down all of the things that I feel sort of like were notable from the year. And then I wound up coming up with, not on purpose, about 100 things total for all 12 months. And so revamp, love this idea. I hope you try it. I can't wait to see what happens. I put them all into just a graph, or not a graph, a table. And then I'm going to use markers. I was going to use paint. I was going to use paint and cardstock squares, and then glue stick them down, blah, blah, blah. You know what? I don't actually like glue sticking things. I'll do it if I need to, but if I don't need to, I'm not going to. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and go through all of these things, and then I'm going to color code them. I think it's going to go something like, if this something really made you happy, it's going to be a certain color. If this thing was extremely emotionally hard, it's going to be this color. If you learned something, what else? Neutral, perhaps, or I'm not sure, because I need to go through the year and look. And so I can't wait to see, because the truth is that a friend of mine said recently, wow, you had a really hard year, to me. And they were like, really? You had a hard year. So so some stuff happened in my world this year that was hard. And but I'm really interested to see what the hard things look like in the context of all of the things. There is a really cool therapeutic mode that some therapists offer called lifespan integration. And I have gone through this, and it's a way to work through trauma. But the basic idea is really, well, I'm not going to be able to tell you all of it, but the idea is there's a way to almost physically contextualize memories, bad memories, and like let them be embedded with all of your memories, rather than getting stuck and perseverating over the really bad things only. Because if you're stuck with them, then you're like living your life through that lens, right? So I thought it might be very interesting to contextualize all my hard moments and all my wonderful moments and all my just sort of like, that was pretty cool moments, and see what it looks like together. So I'm going to go ahead and color them now, and then hopefully make some kind of, I don't know who knows what's gonna happen. Anyway, I'd love it if you try it as well, if it sounds good to you, and we'll see what we come up with. All right, here we go. By the way, in case you do want to do this, the way that I did it was make sure it's all chronological, because after you do it, the idea is you can read through it in chronological order and just kind of like live through your year in color, right? So that's like the whole point of the whole thing at the end. Well, okay, there's several points. Reflecting on the year as you just write the things down, deciding what to write down, that's important. But then also it's really, I think it's going to be really cool to be able to go through each thing after it's been colored and just sort of relive your year in a way, and just get some perspective and some context. For each square, Okay, so for each square, like this is January and then a bunch of stuff. There's February and a bunch of stuff. There's March. So I had the month name occupy a square. And I actually really like the idea that you don't have to have just a certain number of events for each month, because sometimes some months are really happening and sometimes some months are really just very quiet. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So all right, let's do it. Okay, I'm reporting to you from the other side, and I have to say this data art is very useful, at least it was for me, and I would recommend it. So after you make a chart listing events chronologically from your year, then you can color in each box based on your own symbolism of what the color should mean. So originally I thought the idea would be to color squares in based on your feeling, and you would, I don't know, have a real rainbow of colors and just like, oh, I was slightly depressed here and then I was more depressed there, and then it'd be 2 different shades or something like that, which would also be cool. But ultimately I wound up doing something that was more like a general mood and or category of activity was characterized by a certain color. So the value of writing the events down in chronological order, discerning which events sort of make the cut, that's useful. And then assigning colors that mean something to you to those events, I think that's also really useful for processing or digesting your year. And then after the fact, going through and then reading, I read them out loud as I looked at them and just kind of relived the whole year all in just a few minutes and just got a real sense of the year. And wow, that was really profound. And I feel way more grounded about how the year went. And sure enough, I also feel better about some of the hard moments. And I think I also have real data about how I want to move forward next year. So yay for this activity, and I hope that you give it a try if it sounds interesting to you. In fact, what I think would be extremely cool is if you did this activity with a loved one or a friend who you feel close with, and, you know, if you shared this video with them or just told them about it, and go ahead and do it together, or, you know, do it on your own and then share with each other. I think that that would be a really cool bonding experience. And so, yeah. And if you want to tell me, if you do this, if you want to tell me anything that you came away from the activity with, I'd love to hear it, of course, in the comments. Or you could just tell me if this sounds like an activity you'd like to try. All right, thank you for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.